Welcome back. Let's go ahead and start with our invocation. Settling in first. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So I'm wondering if there's a way in which you've incorporated the Guru invocation into your own life. You could always drop us a line through our website or write us directly at hello@theyoke.yoga. We would love to know what's coming of this mantra and, of course, of any of your studies. So today we continue down the path of the Niyamas, or around the branches or petals, or however it is that you look at these. And we come today to Santoṣa. Got my specs on. Santoṣa, sometimes seen or pronounced and written as Santoṣa. So as you see it here, the character you know as N, sometimes written as an M. And it denotes a state of contentment, a feeling of peace or delight, happiness, joy, any of the above. And it comes from an experience of acceptance. So it kind of connects with what we were talking about in the last session. That aspect of feeling as if we have enough. Yeah. So it is an acceptance of life, it is an acceptance of ourselves. It is an acceptance of whatever has been brought to us. And with that, I must premise that I am not speaking of things that are trauma-related or otherwise. That obviously is not something that we ever have to come to have contentment with, though healing you could consider that as part of the contentment. That's another whole complete conversation. So I'm not wanting you to think when I say this that I'm being completely Pollyanna about the fact that we should, that everything that has happened in our lives will bring us complete peace and joy. There are things that have to be worked through and healed. So I'll leave it at that. So the premise is when we are content, we are happy. Or it could be thought of as the power of contentment brings choice and happiness into our lives. So discontent is usually spurred by wishing or having expectations or things of that nature or energy. And the wishing that one's current situation was more like the past, or a past experience we had, or we really want to relive that experience exactly as it was, as if we could recreate that moment exactly as it was, which is very challenging because that moment was in the past. Or it is when one is driven by anticipation for the future. So they're kind of just missing out on everything right in front of them because they're so focused on what's ahead. And that could be motivational to a degree, and it could also be demotivational. So you have to kind of notice for yourself, like, what is the energy I'm holding behind as I'm working towards the future? Is it an anticipation that it's going to be a certain way and I won't be content unless it's absolutely that way? Or is it more of a, like, I'm going to move forward towards this thing and there's a willingness within me to consider and be open to what comes as a result of it. So our work within Santoṣa is to attempt to find joy in the moment, kind of like this sweet little picture here, to the best of our ability. And I know that, oh gosh, society makes that very challenging at times, a lot of times. And it really is our work to figure out, how can I bring joy to this moment for me, maybe for those around you, but really for you, so you can find that contentment. So Judith Lassiter, who's a yoga teacher, physical therapist, been around a long time. She's actually, one of the original people who had started Yoga Journal way, way back in the day. She compares this feeling of contentment with deep relaxation. She says, like in Shavasana, after being stimulated by the asana practice, when in Shavasana, you can't run after it, right? You can't run after the experience that comes up from Shavasana. It's just being with that moment. You have to allow it, as she says, to let it find you. It is a matter of that you do what you can to create the space for it. So again, she says you can't run after it. It finds you. All you can do is create the space for it, meaning contentment, or that experience of contentment. Okay? So just to be clear, this is not about fatalism or giving up, but it's what Stephen Cope says, Dr. Stephen Cope, he says, it's a momentary letting go of the war with reality. So if you find yourself constantly in battle with the moment, this is your opportunity to try to be as much at peace with the moment as you can. Okay? So one of my teachers offered this consideration. So if you want to grab a piece of paper, pencil, whatever it is that you record with, I'm going to encourage you to reflect on this for a moment. And this is in relationship to Santoṣa. Is your happiness momentary? So consider, what are the aspects of my life where I find happiness is momentary? Or is there an aspect of sustainability to the moment? So when you reflect on things where you can create contentment, sustain contentment, what is it that allows you to create that in your life? And you can always pause the video if you need more time. And finally, for those momentary moments, what would help make them more sustainable? So I have happiness, but it's just momentary in my relationships. What is it that I need so I can make it sustainable? So I can make the happiness sustainable. So again, you could pause if you need to. And we're going to let that be. We're going to be content with that. And we're going to move on to a short little visualization. And in this visualization, I want you to consider what you just wrote about on a deeper level. So I'm going to invite you to put down your pen and paper and either choose those moments of happiness that are sustainable or momentary. Pick one of them. And then I'm going to invite you to sit back into your seat Allow your gaze to come downward or close your eyes completely. You could keep your pen and paper or whatever you're recording with nearby so you can write anytime you want. And I want you to write or feel or think about, or all the above, 3 aspects, specific conditions, aspects that allow contentment to stay with you. And now I'm going to ask you to write down 3 aspects that aren't necessarily just the opposite of what you wrote, but things you know that contribute to your sense of discontentment. And then take a few breaths. If you're not quite done yet, go ahead and pause the video. And then place everything to the side. And we're going to just shift gears from contentment onto maybe the opposite. Maybe they go hand in hand. I'm not sure. That's really for you to figure out for you. The next niyama, tapas. So tapas is literally translated as fire. Okay? And it is that instant when heat develops during periods of our unwavering effort. In that moment, we are generating an internal fire. You could kind of consider how the alchemic process works with gold and how it must be heated for its transformation through consistent attention and heat being applied. So tapas accompanies any discipline that is willingly and gladly accepted. So it kind of goes with the contentment piece. If we're in contentment, we can begin to apply tapas at an intensity that is true and hopefully sustainable, because we are true in that. And in order to bring about some kind of habitual transformation, we must have that unwavering dedication. This could be done in meditation, and then it guides us into that purification and that quietness, that focus, that stillness within the mind. In the body, it could be done through asana, without grasping, but just this way in which we commit to an understanding of our body in these postures, the ways in which it serves the body, the way in which it doesn't serve the body, but we're unwavering in our commitment to understand and to experience the best possible scenario for us. Okay? And that's going to vary person to person and be different. So the sutras suggest when tapas is in action, the heat it generates will both burn away impurities, and at the same time, it will kindle a spark of divinity within us. So consider that again. When tapas is in action, it generates both the burning away of impurities and the kindling of divinity within. So just take a moment to really consider that for yourself. Can you feel the truth of that? And if not, just make a note of that for yourself, that this is something for you to consider in the future. Because my guess is that if it's not really something you can connect with, there might be some kind of attachment to what each of those things mean. The getting rid of or burning away of impurities and the sparking of divinity. And all of that comes with a willingness to be disciplined, an enthusiasm to learn. So you're not just going through the paces. There's something in you that genuinely wants to experience without attachment. You can see how all the different sutras are just building on top of each other. There's much to remember and learn here. Excuse me. So, again, there's a gentleness that you can bring to this for yourself. So it comes from that enthusiasm to learn, and it can be applied to anything in your life. Absolutely anything. It's really your choice where you decide to take that focused energy, take that unwavering dedication. You could kind of consider it like the bellows. I don't know if you've ever seen those bellows that are used to blow on a fire. They have a sack in the middle and handles, and you pump them like this, and air comes out, and you can put it into the bottom of a fire. So when we practice, when we meditate, that is our puffing of that bellows, and it's lighting that fire that lives within us. So if we do it too hard, it could blow it out. And if we do it too soft, it could die away. So there's a balance of how we use those bellows to contain and sustain, I should say, the fire within. And part of that is sustained, courageous practice. So even when we think we could not do something in a safe way, that we try. Remember how we had talked last session about the session before about giving up and not even trying. Like we don't even attempt to try. This is the attempt to try, and pushing ourselves just a little bit beyond that into a faith of pursuit. A pursuit of softness, but dedication. So BKS Iyengar has, of course, something to say about this. And he says, we have to do a fair bit of what we don't want to, and rather less of what we think we do. So that's a little play on words for you to consider. Again, he says, we have to do a fair bit of what we don't want to do, and rather less of what we think we do. So I'm going to close out our practice today. And I hope you will join me by setting everything aside. And just take a few moments to let all of these words and notions integrate within you. You could, again, take the gaze downward, or if you wish, draw into the silence behind your eyes. Maybe feel the places of contentment within you, those places of peace. And drawing the breath in on the exhale, we'll do 3 shantis. Drawing the breath in. Om Shanti Shanti. Shanti. See you next session.